Howdy folks, Mr. Reed here, and welcome to One More Question. So what I'm going to be taking a look at right now is a concept where we're going to take entire radicals. We're going to take mixed radicals. Could be simplified, could not, doesn't really matter. We're going to turn them back into entire radicals. So it's actually the opposite process to what I've looked at over my last couple videos in the Roots and Power series. Now, this is actually even, I shouldn't say even, it's more straightforward than going the other way around. So we don't have to really search for anything in particular. We can just make it really clearly right away. So I'm going to put this at a mild level. I'm actually going to use a couple pretty reasonable examples to go along with it. So if what you want to see is taking mixed radicals and turning them into entire radicals, you're in the right place. So let's get to it. Okay, now what we have written up top is that 3 root 5 is the first statement given, and we want to turn this into an entire radical, which means we're going to move that 3 inside. But you can't just move it inside. That's not what that actually means. It's not going to be the square root of 15. What we're going to do is we're going to take that same thought that we were using in the last videos, which is being able to take two things that are multiplied under the same type of square root, or underneath of one radical, type of radical. The index can be anything you want, so that's why I put an n there. And we're going to turn that into two radicals of the same index that are multiplied together. Sorry, I'm a little scattered. This is actually my 5th time recording this particular video because I'm either running out of storage on the iPhone and not checking it, forgetting to press record on something, or just butchering something, which happened once. So at this point, I'm just going to roll with it. My apologies for that. So what we have been doing in the last couple videos is taking one radical statement like this and turning it into two radical statements multiplied together, which we then simplify one of them because we've picked it to be a perfect cube or square or 4th or 5th root as well, where we can make a nice simplified statement in the end. The interesting thing is, if we started with this, we could turn it into that, and then it would become an entire radical. The problem in our case is that the 3 is not underneath of a radical symbol at all. So we want to turn it into a statement where it is. In this case, we want to turn it into something that's underneath of a square root. Luckily, this process is actually really easy, because when you say square root, it's what number when multiplied by itself, and in this case, it gives us an answer of 3. Well, we can take the 3 times 3 to give us 9, and we know that the square root of 9 is 3, which is good, because that's what we want. We want the square root that we've created to have the same value as the number that was by itself out front as a coefficient. So in this case, the root 9 and the 3 are the same. Now, we're still multiplying it by the square root of 5, but according to what we said over here, we can take that and put it back into a single radical by just using this property in reverse, which is, hey, if you have these two same index radicals, so in this case, both square roots, then we can smush them and put them to be written as a single square root if we multiply those pieces back together. So in this case, it would just give us 9 times 5, which is 45. That will be our entire radical this time. Luckily, it doesn't get really all that much more complicated when we're dealing with different roots. So in this case, my second example is 2 4th root of 7. Again, we want this 2 to turn into whatever 4th root gives us 2. But the opposite of 4th roots is 4th powers. So all we have to do is take that 2 and multiply by itself 4 times. So it's 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 is 16. And so we would get that the 4th root of 16 gives us 2, which means those have the same value. And it's still being multiplied by the 4th root of 7. So, using the same property, we are going to say that the 4th root of 16 times 7 is what we're going to turn this into, and 16 times 7 is going to give us 10 times 7 is 70, plus another 6 times 7, 42, for a grand total of 112. So we can turn any mixed radical into an entire radical by taking the part that is currently not inside the radical, writing it as an equivalent statement that is inside of the same type of radical, and then realizing we can just multiply them together after they're both inside of that same symbol. It's pretty nice. Do a few questions of that and you'll get quite used to it. It works out much better than having to look for all the different factors and trying to figure out which is the largest perfect square, cube, fourth, fifth, etc. that you can pull out. In this case, you know what you have to put back in, so you just create the correct power to go inside of a radical, put them together, and you're done. All right, so hopefully you found that one helpful. If you did, like, subscribe, comment. Let me know how things are going. If these things could be better and you know how, I'd be very grateful if you could let me know, and I'll try to make things better as we go forward. So like, subscribe, and as always, take care, folks.